What's going on, everybody? Welcome to lunchtime. Do I need a break today? I need to hang out with my friends, need to hang out with my homies. I need a break today. But first, we throw a dart. Just left. Much better than yesterday, though. Yeah, what a freaking day, dudes. So I'm going to fill you in on a little story. We have a vendor that I work with. I work in a really small unit with the state of Ohio, and we help people find work. And part of that is to have a job posting board. And 15, 20 years ago, we did a contract with Monster. And if you remember monster.com, it was a job search site way back in the day. We hired them to be our vendor to create our job board, and then we expanded on that. There's a lot of tools and stuff associated with it, like resume classes and interviewing practice and finding out like your daily budget and a bunch of stuff like that. Anyway, it's really big, really expansive. And if you've been following the news, Monster filed for bankruptcy a couple weeks ago. And with that means we've probably lost our vendor in midstream of everything. So everything's kind of like in a rush. We, as a government, always have to put a request for proposal whenever we hire a new person on. And so we are in the middle of scrambling to put all of that stuff together. Crazy, utter craziness. So workload has been really high for a couple weeks. And then today, my unit is 3 people and a boss. And one of my people got let go today. So now it's just 2 of us and my boss, with all the extra stuff piled on top. And now that person's duties are going to be shifted to me and my coworker and split up, and even more stuff dumped on us. And yeah, if ever I needed a day to hang out with my friends at lunch, today is that day. It's crazy to think that I actually took off a couple days this week, because it doesn't feel like it at all. Dang. So anyway, so that's my day. And then my day hits me right about 11:45, even harder again, maybe 11:30, when Andrew Hiller decided to cut up yesterday's show and cut up a reel and share it to his Instagram. And if there's any doubts that Andrew Hiller is the biggest influencer in the space, let me tell you, if he cuts up a reel of you, your phone blows up. And he shared this for the board of directors when Lazar died, to go out there and be the public face of everything. And then everybody just hated on him. And that's why the letter said fire Dave and not fire Don, or not fire the board of directors or sell the company. Everybody thinks Dave's responsible for everything. He's the director of the games. He's not the CEO. He's not the board of directors. And they got off scot-free in this whole thing because Dave took it all on. The more I sit back and look at this whole thing, like, it's almost like Dave should be a hero for what he did for the company instead of vilified. Nobody's even looking behind the curtain. Everybody's just aiming. So you get the picture. If you were here yesterday, you saw me go off on this rant, and it got clipped and put out there on Instagram. And now my phone is on fire, completely on fire. Andrew Hiller is by far the biggest influencer in this space, at least what I've experienced. I've done interviews with Matt Frazier. I've done interviews with some of the biggest names in the sport, and never once has my phone blown up like this after doing my own reel and cutting it out there, or doing it with the athletes in the space. Man, but Andrew Hiller shares your stuff. Ba-boom. So that's been fun today. But I want to get to something interesting here. And that is, we've also been following Beat Bagent for the last 10 days or so, maybe a week, 10 days. And my co-host, Jamie Latimer, did it yesterday. She shared the video on her YouTube with us. I got to watch it yesterday. She did not post her score until last night, and that was intentional because she, at the time that she had done it, she was the top score for women in Beat Bagent. And she beat Bagent. So she beat Erica Folo and she beat Bagent, and she was the top woman score on the leaderboard. As we got closer to evening, and I think around 9 o'clock, I was checking it, Mackenzie Riley posted right here. Mackenzie Riley posted 90 burpees. Jamie posted 91 burpees. Then, like a half an hour later, after Jamie posted her score, Mackenzie's score went from 90 burpees to 91 burpees, and they're tied. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I want Jamie to win. She's my co-host. She's a savage. But you come over here and look, and Mackenzie Riley didn't put a video. No video. So right here is Jamie's video. We can pop that open if it'll let me. Somewhere on this screen, hopefully there's a video. No. Well, that stinks. Come on. Jamie Latimer video. There we go. And you can see
agent, we're connected to the rower. 0.
She did post a video.
And Jimbo's doing it. Wave to the camera, Jim.
So it takes her about 5.5 minutes to get off the rower. And I was like, ooh, that's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. So where's she at? She's at 3.5 minutes there. 450. Oh, you got to see the dismount. You got to see. I'm going to blow it up here. Watch the dismount. Right into the burpee. Look at that savage. Doesn't even take a breath. Just unhooks the straps, flops into the burpee, and away she goes. And her burpees never slow down. Never slow down to 91. I talked to her last night. She was like, if I would have just rode 15 seconds faster. Crazy. So, with where we are right now, Jamie is the leading female in the clubhouse, and I believe it's closed. I think she wins. Right here is her score. Again, Mackenzie Riley says she tied, but there's no video. Just like Corey Leonard says, no video. In that case, I beat Brandon Luckett at 8:27. Okay. But that doesn't get you the jersey. Jamie's going to get the jersey for the top finishing female that I can see. I went through anything that looked like a female name. I pulled up the video to see, and everybody above her were male. So, yeah, and Brandon Luckett just crushed it. 8:30. Finishes the entire workout in 8:30. I watched it just to see if it was humanly possible because I wanted to see. And his row was off the hook. I mean, he was done 3:30 with 100 cals. How is that possible? And then I would say Jamie's burpees were faster than Brandon's. I'd like to see it almost side by side. They looked faster, but Brandon just had such a lead coming off the row. And when you get 100 calories in 3 minutes and 30 seconds, you're probably clipping at a pretty good pace, and that is going to affect your burpees as they go forward. But he didn't slow down either. He just kept the same pace. So congratulations to them. It appears that Brandon Luckett is your male winner of Beat Bagent and Jamie Latimer is the female winner of Beat Bagent. And they'll be getting the lovely, beautiful orange and blue Chicago Bear jerseys of Tyson Bagent autographed. And that is pretty freaking cool. So with that, I don't have a ton today, but I was watching Get With the Programming last night with Bill and Chase, and then it was JR, Taylor, and Bryson coming up with, they all came up with 4 different workouts independently, a monostructural, a gymnastics, a mixed modal, and a weightlifting. And I am not a programming guy. That's not something that I generally get into because I'm just a big guy that showed up at a gym and was trying to get fit and just like doing the workouts, but I don't really understand the programming aspect of it. And that just isn't my forte. I like rooting for the sport. I like going to the gym. I like doing the workouts, but man, the stuff they were coming up with was so creative. So creative. We talked on Sunday night about some of our favorites from the past. And I had said on that show that I love when you mix swimming and something else. Like you have to get out of a pool, do something else, get back in the pool. Taylor had one that was 100-meter swims. I think there was 5 of them, 4 or 5 of them rounds. And then when you got out of the 100-meter swim, with whatever time was remaining in that set, it was max calorie row. And I thought that was pretty cool. I really like swimming stuff where you had to do something. I like grabbing a dumbbell, doing some stuff like that. I think that's cool. I know that Legends a couple years ago did a dumbbell movement at the end of each lap. And then once you were done, you were back in for another, I think it was 100 meters, and then like some dumbbell work. Now, the part that Taylor wanted it in a transparent floating pool that hovered over the floor, that might have been a little far-fetched, maybe, especially with the budget concerns we have right now. But I applaud the creativity. JR came up with a workout that was like he called Squid Games, like red light, green light, where you actually had to like pause a pegboard movement in different places where there was tape. You actually had to stop and then you could go again. So it couldn't be a fluid movement. It had to like test a little bit more. And he had another movement like that as well. Maybe handstand walks. But I found that pretty fascinating too, just adding some stuff like that. But the most fun one that came up was, and this was for, I think it was for gymnastics. I don't know. I might be wrong. It was a climbing one that Taylor came up with where it was climb over 3 high walls, then do 2 cargo nets, and then a rock climbing wall to finish. And I thought, man, that'd be really fun to watch. And he had it as an elimination style event where you would, I think he had heats of 4, heats of 5, maybe. And you would go through and you would eliminate down, and then the next group would go and you'd eliminate down further. But it's just a quick over the cargo net and then up the rock wall. And since I was at the games in 2017 and I worked at North Park when they had the obstacle course there, that cargo net was so fun and so cool to watch. But these athletes were giving themselves up. When they were practicing, they were launching themselves over the top. And it was almost like they didn't care if they fell to the sand below. And then when Dave saw all of that happening, he actually said, that is not allowed. You cannot flip over the top of the cargo net, you must go over with one leg at a time to kind of slow that process down. And that was a change like last minute when he saw how reckless the athletes were going over the cargo net, that he actually said, no, we're not going to be reckless. You're going to go over one leg at a time. That's why stuff when people are like that Dave doesn't care about safety really get me fired up, because I've been there on the floor when he's made changes last minute to things to make things safer. And you don't see that at every event. I've been at a lot of other events where that doesn't happen. But I can tell you definitively at that 2017 games, the cargo net, the athletes were launching themselves and their feet up over the top of the cargo net and then coming down super fast. And some just like almost sliding down the other side of the cargo net. And he put a stop to that by changing the rules that you had to go over one leg at a time and then descend the cargo net. So, yeah. He has been concerned about the safety of the athletes. And to pretend that he's not is just ludicrous at times. So anyway, but I've said that enough this week. This is Friday. We're just chilling. I'm just hanging with my friends to get away from a crazy workday. So, yeah, it was a really cool show. They ended up then voting on which one they wanted to put together and voted like the best mixed modal, the best gymnastics, the best weightlifting. Jody Lynn, I was there for the cargo net year. Crazy comp. They actually did the cargo net 2 times. They did it in 17 and 18. Rescue Randy was also cargo net, but it was out in the field. When they got back to North Park, it was just drag Randy down the course. But the cargo net was out in the field, and that's where Pat and Matt fell off the top of the cargo net. The first year was 17, and it was actually right beside North Park. And they built a sand pit beneath everything. And that's where they had the cargo net into the log balance, into the monkey bars. Then they had the swinging ropes. Lots of stuff. Yeah, that's 17, Jody. Yep. Yeah, when the very end was climbing up a ladder that spun and wasn't very stable, and then get into a platform and hit a buzzer. Says cargo nets could be done with a handheld flip at the top. It's how I do them in obstacle races. Yeah, that's what they were doing initially, but people were falling off the nets when they were trying it. And so, yeah, they stopped it and made you go at the CrossFit Games. They made you go one leg over at a time. Jeffrey Birchfield. So I reserved my room for the age group CrossFit Games. I did it through CrossFit volunteer site. Hope that was correct, Scott. I hope so. I know the Legend site had some things, but they had like 15 rooms, 15 hotels, all with deals. So any of the 15 work. But I'm assuming that they have hooked up with the volunteer site as well. That would only make sense. But where I work and what's been happening the last couple of weeks, making sense isn't necessarily a guarantee that that's exactly what's going to happen. So, but that was a fun show to watch if you guys want to check it out. They really were creative, and I really did like what they were kind of putting together. So you'll be up at OSU. So that's a little bit north of the convention center. It's going to probably take you 10 minutes to get to the, probably not 10 minutes. It's all about traffic. And school won't be back in. So you should be okay. You should be okay, Jay Birch. One thing that this is my segment called The Old Man That Yells at Clouds. My wife and I watch Jeopardy most nights. It's not like a must watch or we've got to see it, but generally we put on Jeopardy after dinner, watch a little Jeopardy, and enjoy that. But man, there's this trend lately that in Final Jeopardy, people are doing this thing that I call wuss betting. And that is that like they are betting like they're not going to get the answer correct. Or they're betting on their opponent not getting the answer correct. Instead of going like all in to win the event and be confident in their ability. And man, for the last couple weeks, people are betting like $1,400 when they're in the lead, and it makes no sense. Like I would never see the greats like Ken Jennings or James Holzhauer doing those kinds of wussy bets. Like bet like you know your shit. Jay Birch says it's called gaming. Like I understand if you have like a certain amount of lead and you can guarantee your win for the next day, that makes sense. These are all people that have to stave off someone else trying to take the win from them. And they're doing these. Oh gosh, it drives me nuts. If I'm going to bet at the end of a game, I'm going to bet on myself to get it right and to beat the other people. I'm not going to bet on us all losing. That just seems like and maybe it's just my mentality and being an athlete my whole life and being a very competitive person. I don't like taking the passive approach to the end of a game. Either you believe in yourself and your own abilities, or why are you there? Again, just my old man yelling at the cloud segment for the week. Not that it's going to change anything in life. It just is something that annoys me so much. And my wife is probably so tired of me yelling about it. I thought I would get it off my chest here and hopefully be able to move on with life. So Jay Birch is asking Uber or Lyft from OSU. Yeah, and it's probably a short 5-minute or maybe. Jay Birch, the trivia nerds these days are different than in our day. But it's not just trivia. It's about everything. Like if you are in an event and you're in a competition, you are there because you have an ability and you want to see it, how good it is. If you take the passive approach, it's counterintuitive to you being in the competition. But I am 55 years old. I am old. I am yelling at the clouds. I know all of this. I am aware of my issues and my problems. That's just who I am. Just who I am. So the other thing I wanted to show was wooleymemeth actually had a great post yesterday for the Masters athletes. And, we love the Masters athletes. Jay Birch is talking about getting his room for the Masters CrossFit Games. And the evolution of the apparel for Masters athletes at the CrossFit Games started from 2011 to 2020 was Reebok, 21 to 23 Noble, 24 Northern Spirit, 25 Gym Reapers, and next year you're just going to get some Kohl's Cash. And I thought that was hilarious. And then in the comment, he actually posts, Masters ladies better bring a roll of quarters to do laundry if they don't like tights, because 2 pair of shorts isn't going to cut it. On the plus side, they get 20% off Gym Reapers if they want to buy apparel. So yeah, and then I think it's here. This is what the Masters athletes are getting when they show up to the CrossFit Games. And the men will get 4 pairs of shorts, 2 tank tops, and 2 t-shirts. Women will get 2 shorts, 2 leggings, and 2 women's tank tops, and 2 unisex t-shirts. And then the question is answered. Why aren't we getting sports bras? Due to the wide range of styles and preferences, we ultimately chose to exclude all base layer items from the assortment to ensure maximum comfort for the athletes. So, that's crazy to me. That cannot be the reason. The reason has got to be that they only wanted to supply so many things. I can't wait to get Carolyn and Jamie's opinions on this, since they are going to be the athletes who are, and that's the thing that gets me. Like, they're required to wear these clothes when they're on the floor in some semblance. And last year they had to wash them so much that stuff was falling, the names and the gyms were falling off of the clothes. Yeah, Shanna, she's Masters athlete, crushes it every year. Not like the old days, cannot believe no sports bras. It just baffles me. It's cheap is what it is. It's just cheap. And Shay is right. We were spoiled by the Reebok years. The Reebok years, they were so good. And I love the bright colors. I know people give them crap for that. You could tell by who was wearing what, who they were on the floor once things moved. And it was so much easier as a spectator and a viewer to follow the action on the floor. Corey says, so by the time I make it to the games, it'll be a gift card from the thrift store. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe you'll be lucky and get like one of those PED users use shorts and get a little boost. Shanna's so spoiled. Masters athletes felt more valued back then. Yeah. It's a shame. The group of athletes that put more money into the open than any other group get the least. It's just crazy. Says, I haven't bought anything CrossFit related since Reebok. I can't say the same, but I will say that I bought more. Let's be honest. I was an addict back then. I mean, I started CrossFit in 2011. I had a good 9 years with Reebok, and I bought a lot of stuff. So, do we know who's sponsoring the elites? The same? I don't believe it's the same, and it's not Gym Reapers. Is it? I think I heard it was Velite. I don't know. Who knows? A train to live, giving them something is better than nothing. At least give them something. If they don't like it, someone will. Yeah, that's the word I was. Velites has the elites. I'm pretty sure that's what I've heard. But I don't know what kind of kits they're putting out. I know Carolyn said on Sunday, Carolyn doesn't wear crop tops and doesn't wear booty shorts because she's a school teacher and she has an image to uphold for the students and doesn't want to do that. And she felt like in the sizing options that she was given, that may not be, she may not have an option, which is really bad for her. But it's weird because where we are with CrossFit now, nobody assumes that these athletes actually have another job, you know, but a lot of these athletes do. Lydia Fish, 20 years old, has another job. She's a server at a restaurant. Emily Rolfe, x-ray technician. Carolyn Prevost, school teacher. But I think there's an assumption sometimes that these athletes don't have that. And Vicky, I think they should get to wear whatever they want. I get here's the thing. You need the sponsorship dollars. You're only going to get the sponsorship dollars if the athletes wear what the sponsor gives them. But there should be something put in place that the sponsor has to supply X, Y, and Z for them to do it, because the athletes need enough to wear during the event. If it's a 3-day event, then there should be a minimum of X number of shorts, X number of tights, X number of sports bras, X number of shirts. You don't want to give away the sponsorship dollars from these companies coming in and sponsoring the games to help pay for everything. So wearing what they want doesn't solve one of the problems that CrossFit has. We need revenue streaming. However, you need to make sure that when you sign these people to a deal, that they supply enough clothes for the athletes to wear. Wonder if they're giving away shoes this year. I have not heard if there's a shoe sponsor for the Masters Games or not. Corey Leonard, 50% of why I want to make the games is to get uniforms to wear forever. Right. I think, back in the Reebok days, people wanted to make the games to get the kits because that was the trophy. That was the trophy to say I was a CrossFit Games athlete at one time. It wasn't about the money back then. It was just, hey, if I make the games, I get all this cool clothing that I get to wear all year round, and I get to show that I was one of the fittest, this age group in the world. Jay Birch says competing 4 days, 4 sets per athlete's no biggie. For you and I who work out once a day, but if there's 3 workouts in a day and they're doing 4 days of competition, that is a problem. Andrew Sten, I don't think companies with resources like Reebok are willing to sponsor CrossFit anymore. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where we are with all that. I think we've got to get past the Lazar Jukic situation from last year, and we've got to move forward, and then maybe we can get some other sponsors. But we've got to grow this thing before we can even talk about that stuff. Corey said the gear is absolutely the trophy. Every former games athlete I know personally wears their games gear all the time. I do not disagree. Shay, assume they'll need laundry facilities or the old hand wash in the sink. That is it. I know in Birmingham last year, there were people that looked for hotels that had laundry facilities because they were last year, they were only given 2 of each thing, I think. or like one pair of shorts, one pair of tights. It was bad last year, really bad. If Shanna's still here, she can tell you what they got, since she was one of the athletes there. Sorry, I had a bug fly by me. So yeah. All right. Well, let's finish up with this. I wrote down the top 5 things I want to see at the CrossFit Games this year. So we're going to do a top 5. I tried to do it as a PowerPoint so I could show you and reveal it, but then all this shit broke at my work today, and yeah, I couldn't get it done. Shanna says, I think 2 of each, like you said. Yeah. What's crazy? Well, last thing on the apparel, even Noble like took care of people. So I don't want it just to be Reebok, Noble, big kits. I went to CrossFit Polaris when the Christian Aramo O'Connell owned it. She would come back with so much stuff. She would have a box of it at the gym and let other people grab whatever they wanted from it so they could have a little piece of games gear. She was awesome. And when she was a Noble athlete and Reebok was doing it, she couldn't really wear the Reebok stuff like in her Instagram and stuff like that because she was contracted to wear the Noble. So she gave away almost all of the Reebok stuff. And I thought that was cool too. Then the whole gym community got to kind of relish in her success. And the women were just ecstatic about being able to grab it, and they would wear it to the gym all the time as well. Says the Reebok stuff was so good. I disliked the Noble from the start. I'm a Reebok customer, though. Reebok has gotten pretty LTV, lifetime value for me. There we go. Good lifetime value for me. Yeah. I know Reebok's trying to make a comeback on the basketball shoe side and some other stuff. Be nice to see them jump back into a little bit of CrossFit and help push it. But who knows? All right. Top 5 things I want to see at this year's CrossFit Games. Number 5, I want to see people in the stands, and I want to see people at Vendor Village. The quickest way to get some sponsors back is to get butts in the seats. However they have to do that, I just want to see a pretty full arena with a packed Vendor Village. Now, from what I'm hearing, part of Vendor Village is outside of the gates of the game, so people can get to it even if they don't have a ticket. So I'm hoping that vendors have a very successful year and a lot of people go hang out at Vendor Village this year. Number 4, me with enhanced access and media credentials to the games. I have asked for enhanced access. I have not gotten enhanced access. I'm praying to get enhanced access. I want to do a full on behind the scenes with Hattie, and I want to catch some stuff with Carolyn. And so I'm hoping that this comes, but at this point, I'm worried it's not. But again, we have a plan B, but I'm hoping that I can get the enhanced warm-up area access for the CrossFit Games. Number 3 is creative programming. I want to see the snail out on the floor. I want to see the fun, odd objects. As much as I love core CrossFit workouts, I want to see some of the fun stuff back. Even if you're not going outside, bring it onto the floor. Hell, bring out the wheelbarrow again. Let's load that up and move it back and forth across the floor. I want to see fun, creative programming again. Number 2, I want to see good races. We've talked about this with the Tia comeback, that everybody thinks that Tia is just going to run away with the entire thing and it's going to be a lopsided victory. I just want a good race. I think the men are going to give us that. It's really tight at the top. I know Jeff Adler is great. We have James Sprague. We have Dallin Pepper. We have Jason Hopper. We have Roman Krennikov. I think we can get some good races on the men's side. I want a closer race on the women's side. Whether it's someone catches Tia on some stuff or whatever, but I just don't want another 200-point victory on the women's side. And the number one thing I want to see at the CrossFit Games is my friends. I have not been able to get out on the road this year to different events. Usually I'm at a couple semifinals by now. I've seen a lot of my friends this year because of just the season of life, my wife's 2 knee replacements, my mom's stroke, and a bunch of things like that. I have not been able to get out there, so I'm really dying and have so much FOMO to get back on the road and see my friends at the CrossFit Games. And then continue that on to the Masters CrossFit Games, where I get to see even more of my friends. And I can't wait for all of that to happen. I'm so excited about this. One thing I want to clean up from yesterday is everybody was saying good thing that Mama Clydesdale wasn't in the chat. Mama Clydesdale was watching yesterday. She just was watching on her TV, so she wasn't in the chat. So I got to have a conversation with her last night, and that was fun. But she actually was cool with everything that was said. And I just had to explain the beginning of the Gooch joke and where it all came from, and then she was fine. Some things from the chat. Strongman Sphere was a fun one. It's so much fun. Jay Birch wants to see monkey bars. Corey, dude, the wheelbarrow, but not the ones that broke. Says, I want to see outside events. Yeah, I wanted to see more outside events too. I love the snail. It's so much fun for me to watch. I love those odd objects like that. But yeah, but we're not getting it. We're not getting it this year. Train to Live. Sorry, Mom. Yeah, she was okay. Really, she was okay with it. Kenneth DeLapp with $5. Road Snack Fund. Oh, yeah. I am going to cut up some veggies. I love the crunchy veggie on the road trip now. That's kind of my go-to thing. It keeps me away from pretzels and chips, and I just eat peppers and cauliflower and carrots. That seems to work. It's going to be a long drive to Albany, but I'm going to do it as a drive this year. It's probably 9 hours up and then 9 hours back, but it should be fun. Shanna's got to go. Hope you have a great rest of your day, Shanna. Corey Leonard wants to see chaos or a chaos type event. I think that was one of the best all time. We talked Sunday night about our top 5 favorite events. Most of them were outdoor events. This year, we're only getting one outdoor event where the rest are going to be inside. It scares me that so many of our favorite events were outdoor events and we're losing that possibility this year. But as I saw with what JR and Chase and Bill and Bryson and Taylor did the other night, you can be creative indoors. You just got to open your mind to do so. They came up with some really cool creative ideas. And what I loved about it is they all thought about the story it would tell on the floor, like how it was set up, how it would move up and down the floor and how it would tell the story. I love that they added that as part of their thought process. Anyway, I just thought that was cool. So there we go. That's what I want to see at the games. It's Friday. I'm so glad the week is over. It's been a crazy week. I've been on fire with some rants and some riffs this week. Hopefully I can bring the heat next week again. I think I'm just taking a breath today, getting through today's show. But yeah, with that, we'll be back on Sunday night with Sunday Night CrossFit Talk. We'll have Carolyn and Jamie. Jamie, the winner of Beat Bagent on the women's side, get to talk to her about that. Talk about what's been happening with Carolyn since she has been invited to the games and what that has all looked like and how is that all going, and maybe even get into a little bit of Masters talk. Who knows? Every time I have a plan for Sunday night, something happens over the weekend that changes all of it. So we will see what happens this weekend. But I hope you'll join us Sunday night for that. And if not, I'll be back here Monday for Lunch with the Clydesdale. You knuckleheads, time to get back to work. We'll see everybody next time. Lunch with the Clydesdale. Bye, guys.